Hey everybody, we are in Microbiomes 1.2. Congratulations, we made it. So I'm going to click on Microbiomes right here in 6th grade science. We're going to click on Chapter 1 because 1.2, okay, that means Chapter 1. Here we go, Lesson 2, 1.2. How small is small? Well, I mean, I don't know. You ever wondered that? Seems kind of like a relative question to me. Hey, let's go jump into our slides here. How small is small? The first thing we're going to do is our warm-up. So in Amplify, almost every lesson that you do is going to have a warm-up. Well, we didn't have one last time, Mr. Wigan. I know, it was the first lesson, but almost every time. So the first thing you're going to do is your warm-up. And basically what it is designed for is to get you thinking about the topic that we are going to tackle this day. So today, the warm-up says, select all the statements that are true. We're talking about cells. Raise your hand if you've ever heard the word cells before. You know anything about cells. I don't know. But we're going to be starting to learn about cells today, and specifically how big or how small cells are, their size. So select all the statements that you think are true about cells, and then what else do you know about cells? Anything else, anything that you've heard before. Don't worry if you're right or wrong, but just write down your thoughts right here. And then, of course, as soon as you finish your warm-up, you're going to click this hand in button. That's how I know that you did it. Gosh, did I miss anything? No, each statement will start. We're good. Yeah, so why don't you take a moment right now, go ahead and pause the video and answer that warm-up. And then when you're ready to, unpause and we'll do the rest of the lesson. How'd you do with the warm-up? Do you know anything about cells? Have you heard about them before? Do you feel pretty good about those statements that you selected as true? Hey, next thing we're going to do, we're going to watch a cute little video that some students actually made about the scale of cells, basically how big cells are. So this is located in the attachments to the assignment on Google Classroom. There is another YouTube video for you to watch. You can either access it there or on my YouTube channel. But what I want you to do is, again, pause this video, go watch that one, and then come back. All right, pause. So did you watch the video? It's really clear now, right? Cells are very small. Well, they didn't just say cells are very small, because that wouldn't be very helpful, but they did try to give us a better idea. They gave us very specific measurements between 1 and 100, what was it? Oh my gosh, nanometers, micrometers. I can't even remember now. But also they told us how many cells could fit on the head of that pin, which gives you an idea. Oh my gosh, that many cells, 64,000 red blood cells on the head of that pin. Okay, so yeah, they are small. When we say they're small, that's how small we're talking about, extremely small. You can't see an individual cell. There's almost no cells that you can see with the naked eye. So let's keep moving on here. Chapter 1 question. This is our question for the chapter. How small, just how small are the microorganisms that live on and in the human body? We said that there were microorganisms that are living on and in us. How small are they? Can I see them crawling around on me? Well, no, then that wouldn't really be a microorganism, would it? Because a microorganism is something that you can't actually see with the naked eye without some sort of instrument or tool to help you see it. So let's move on. Life scientists study living things and are very interested in understanding cells. Why are they interested in understanding cells? Because cells make up all living things. Every living thing is made of cells. In fact, that is going to be one of our key concepts for this unit. Uh-oh, I did it out of order. It says, let's watch a video. Well, we already did. Hey, if you want to go watch it again, be my guest. Watch it 10, 20 times. It's your time. Was there anything that surprised you from the video about the scale of cells, just how big they are? I have a question. She held up that grain of rice. How many cells is that grain of rice made of? If 64,000 red blood cells can fit on the head of that pin, how many cells could fit on that, could make up that grain of rice? Are all cells the same size? Or are some cells different? I have lots of questions now. All living things are made of cells. This is one of our key concepts I just told you about. And this is so critical. to understand. You and I are made of cells. Plants are made of cells. Trees, well, I guess a tree is a plant. A fish is made of cells. A mushroom is made of cells. Bacteria are made of cells. All living things, anything that's alive. So moving on, the scale tool. Ooh, how did that work for you? You were supposed to use the scale tool to put all those cards in order. I don't know that you can even see down here which cards are which. I will attach an answer key for you for the scale tool to see how well you did. Let's look at some vocabulary here. Microscopic, too small to be seen with the naked eye. It means you cannot see it without having some sort of tool that helps you to see it, like a magnifying glass or a microscope or an electron microscope. But it's just simply too small. Next vocabulary word, cells. Cells are the tiny structures that make up all living things and are the smallest units able to perform life functions. What does that mean? I don't want to get into that just right now, the smallest unit is able to perform life functions, but everything is made of cells, and cells are like the smallest that you can get and still have it be considered alive, a living thing. Because you can have things that are just one cell big, and that's the entire organism, just one single cell. Or you can have something like a human, a multicellular organism that's made of over 100 trillion cells. Now, if you took off one of your cells and said, look, I have a living organism right here, would we be correct in saying that? No, because that one individual cell, it's not its own organism. It's part of your whole entire organism. If you took that one cell off of your body, it would not be able to survive. It would not be able to live without all of the other cells. Our cells are dependent on one another, whereas a single-celled organism, it doesn't need, other cells other than its food to help it survive. Okay, so let's move on. Oh, this question. How do microscopic things vary in size? So I kind of asked the question earlier, well, can you have cells that are different sizes? Okay, well, what about other kinds of microscopic things? Well, we used the scale tool. We sorted all of our cards the other day. Now, we're going to add 3 new cards to our scale cards. I attached these into your lesson in Google Classroom. It's a PDF, and just like the ones before, and they look like this, these pink outlined ones. If you want, print them out and shuffle them into your deck and try to figure out where they fit, where they belong. Or you could just look at them and look at the annotations on the bottom and look, okay, how big of an object am I looking at here, and see where it would fit in, and maybe just add some numbers to them. Use my display. I don't have a display. I would if we were in my classroom. I'd have a nice display of all these cards, but I'm going to add an answer key to your attachments. So use that, put all of your cards in the same order that mine are in, and answer this question. Which 2 cards in our display show images of cells? And what do you observe about the size of these cells? So why don't you right now take the time to make sure yours are in order, and then figure out which of these show cells, and what about the size of those cells? What do you notice about that? Why don't you take a second and do that right now? Go ahead and hit pause. All right, now if you haven't already done so, we want to put these other cards, these new cards, in order. Read the annotations on them and try to figure out, now that you know the correct order of all the other cards, try to figure out where these go and actually put them into your stack. Use the scale tool if you need to. You won't necessarily find these things in the scale tool, but they do give you some measurements on there that might help you figure out, oh, okay, maybe this goes between a skin cell and an atom. I'll guarantee you most of those probably do. But use the scale tool, look at those measurements, try to figure out what hints you can get to figure out where exactly these cards go. So that's what you're going to do. In 1.2 right here, activity 2. So I am in the Amplify lesson right now, And if I go to next in activity 2, it says use the scale tool. It's just telling you to do exactly what I asked you to. And there's a link to the scale tool right there. So take a minute, do that, and come back to me. So go ahead and hit pause and do that. How'd you do? Oh, shoot, I am ahead. How did you do? Oh, I'm supposed to ask for volunteers to come up and place their cards on our wall. Well, do I have any volunteers? Who feels confident about where they place those? Even if you don't feel confident, hey, take a step out of your comfort zone and try it out. Well, I will also add the answer key for this into your assignment. But here's a key thing. It's all about this evidence. What evidence do you have to put these where they belong? Really, the evidence, it comes down to what measurements were given to you. So here we go. Moving on. Do you agree? Well, you better agree. I'm giving you the answers. And if you disagree, hey, shoot me a question. Key concept number 3, almost all cells are microscopic. Almost every single cell that exists, you're not going to be able to see it with your naked eye. You're going to have to use some sort of magnification for it. Okay? This key concept is on, of course, our list of key concepts. If you want to review those at any time, let's move on to activity 3. You get to draw. I love drawing. You're going to draw a scale model of some microscopic organisms. Oh, look, you will now make a scale model. There you go. That makes tiny things much bigger. Scale models help life scientists visualize things at the scale of micrometers. So maybe you've seen pictures of like cells before, like cut in half, and they show all the things like inside of cells or some other kind of microscopic image. Those help us to understand what's going on inside of like a cell or something else, even an atom. Okay. You'll see drawings of atoms, right? They are certainly not that big, but it helps us to put it into a picture that we can see and kind of visualize what's going on, okay? Oh yeah, visualize, there you go. So first, let's talk about how big 1 meter is. Well, I don't have a meter stick here. I'm sorry, they're all in my classroom. I do have a ruler, and my ruler has centimeters on it. So on this side, centimeters are these right here on this side. They're about the width of my pinky nail. Like, I don't know. It's going to be different for you probably. But this ruler right here, this is about 30 centimeters. So a meter is 100 centimeters. So 3 of these plus 10 more, right? Now, let's think about how small a micrometer is. That's a centimeter, right there. From that 29 to that 30, that's 1 centimeter. A millimeter is one of those smaller little lines in between the 29 and the 30. Now, a micrometer is even smaller. A micrometer, if you split those 10 lines in between 29 and 30 into 10 more little lines in between each of those lines, that's a micrometer. And that's tiny, and we're not going to be able to see that. So let's talk about what we're going to be doing. You're going to be drawing a single-celled microorganism 20,000 times larger than their actual size. So in your attached documents, I included a page that you could print out, and you can draw right on it. And it's got a scale right here. Mine, they're almost a centimeter. They're not exactly a centimeter, so it'll be fine. But in our scale model, it says right here, 2 centimeters are going to equal 1 micrometer. What we're going to be drawing is a microorganism. Okay, you're going to choose one of our microorganisms. 2 of our microorganisms, and you're going to be drawing them. So if it says it is 2 micrometers, okay, what was our scale? Our scale was 2 centimeters equals 1 micrometer. Okay, so if it's 2 micrometers, how many centimeters? That's right, 4. You will make it 4 centimeters big, okay, on this sheet right here. Use that as your scale. So again, you're going to choose 2. You're going to draw them. This is activity 3 in 1.2. Have fun. Make me a nice drawing. Take pride in it. Go ahead and pause the video. Do that right now. All right. How did your drawing turn out? Are you proud of it? Are you happy with it? Are you going to put it on your refrigerator? Are you going to email it to me? That'd be cool. Email me your drawing. I'd love to see it. If we were in my classroom, I'd have work up all over the place doing work. So how do scale models help us understand the microorganisms, and are all microorganisms you drew the same size? Were they the same size? Did you draw two of them exactly the same size? You may have noticed that they're actually different. So are all microorganisms the same size? Clearly, the answer is no. Not every single cell is the same size. Can they be? Well, yeah, they can be, but there's no guarantee. Some of them can be quite a lot bigger than others. So the microorganisms that you drew on that page, they are 20,000 times bigger than their actual size. So we want you now to visualize how large you would be at this scale if you were 20,000 times bigger. Oh my gosh, what would you look like? We are moving on to activity 4. So we want to make sure that we click on activity 4 right here. And you're going to answer some things. Hey, look at this. This is the warm-up, isn't it? You were supposed to select these statements, whether they were true or not. And then in the warm-up, you wrote anything you knew about cells. So what we're going to ask you to do is, okay, go through these again. Which ones do you think are true? Which ones do you think are not true? Did any of your answers change? If so, why? Record your changes and your explanations below. So did any of your answers change? Maybe they did. Why did they change? Well, I learned something new about cells today. Great. What was it that you learned? Try to be specific here in this box when you explain. No, none of my answers changed. Great. Let's talk about that kind of answer right now. That doesn't get you credit. No, nothing changed. Okay, what didn't change? What do you still believe that is true about cells that you believed at the very beginning? What evidence from our lesson can you use to back that up? So if you say, no, nothing changed, great. I'm happy that you had all the correct information in the very beginning, but tell me more. Be more specific about it, okay? You can't just get away with doing that. So tell you what, why don't you take a moment, pause, and go do activity 4 right now, and then come back to me. Last thing's the homework. It's all homework. Guess what? So what you're going to be doing for your homework today is a reading. You're going to be using the scale tool, and you're going to do a reading. So in Amplify, I'm back in Amplify now. I'm on the homework. They give you this table. What are the directions here? Students use the scale tool to identify objects that are much larger and much smaller than cells. Also, read an article about cells. We learned today living things are made of cells. Cells are very small. In fact, almost all cells are microscopic. Some living things are made of just one single cell. Think about how the scale of cells compares to the scale of other objects. Launch the scale tool. We're going to use it one more time. Complete the table below by finding examples of objects at each scale that is listed. Okay, some parts of the table have been completed for you. Great, I love it when they give us examples. So let's go to right here to the middle, meters. We see orca, an orca. Why meters? Because we wouldn't measure an orca in centimeters. Centimeters are far too small. We wouldn't measure an orca in thousands of meters, a kilometer. That would be like 0.001 kilometers, right? That's not a number that makes sense. But meters, hey, that orca is, gosh, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 meters. 8, it says right there in front of me. We would measure an orca in meters. Okay, got it. Thousands of meters. Okay, they give us the depth of the Grand Canyon. You would go find the Grand Canyon on the scale tool and write it in. What does it say about the Grand Canyon? Great. Thousands of kilometers. What types of things are they measuring in thousands of kilometers? Find an example, write that in, and then write the size of that object, okay? And then you go down to centimeters and nanometers as well. Find an example, how big is that object? So you're going to use a scale tool, and you're just basically looking for examples and putting them in there using the scale tool. Next thing, we're going to be doing a reading. Reading is called cells. You can click right here on this link to go straight to the article. Now, they ask you to annotate the article. They always ask you to annotate these articles. What does that mean? Well, you can highlight things actually when you read them in Amplify. You can make notes, etc. There's a lot of different tools that you can use as you go through, and that's what they're talking about. Just like you might go through a reading and highlight things, underline things, write something in the margin. That's what they're asking you to do, essentially, and they give you tools to do that. So once you read it, answer these questions. What is one new thing you learned about cells from this article? Nothing. I didn't learn anything new. Not unacceptable. Okay. What was something you already knew that was reaffirmed in this article? How about that? What are organelles and why are they important? And then lastly, how are cells, tissues, organs, and systems related? All of these things you should be able to find in that article if you read carefully. If you have any questions, please email me, see me in my office hours. And we'll talk about this tomorrow. Good luck.